Hi, my friend. It's Pat Sloan here on Friday. Yes, I love Fridays. You just got to end the week. Whether you work every day, whether you work on the weekends, whether you don't work anymore and you're retired, it doesn't matter. Fridays have to be a day to celebrate. And this Friday is the second installment of the Heartfelt Charity Sew-Along for Make-A-Wish with the Fat Quarter Shop. So I am so excited about it because we get to make hearts this time. When you see the layout, and let me just put a picture up here of the layout. The blocks are sprinkled all around. So you're going to we're really going to be setting this towards the end of the whole project. Now, because mine will be put up for a charity, for a fundraising auction, I will be finishing it sooner, and Gina Tell is going to be quilting it. I'm very excited about that. If you follow the Fat Quarter Shop and watch their videos, you've seen and met Gina. She's a long arm quilter in the Austin, Texas area by the Fat Quarter Shop. So this month we get to have a heart. Last month we did the stars. So I've got those up here. I am doing mine with the line called Gathering from Benartex. So it has lots of blue and green. It is just gorgeous. Pops of pink. So I'm going to show you each of the blocks. So here they're all the same. I love that it's scrappy. It's sort of like our string bean block, but made into a heart, you know, and square. So sort of like it. Same concept. And the fabrics are just so beautiful. You can, you know, look at this. Look at the coloration, how it came out. Does it look like a bird to you? It looks like a bird to me. So here's his head, like a chicken. There's the tail or the back end. I think that's so funny. It's just you don't know sometimes what kind of secondary image you might come up with. So here's another one. And some have a little bit more blue, some have a little bit more pink, and then these will be sprinkled all around the quilt with other heart blocks and other, you know, so there's a lot of different blocks still yet to come. I think this is a really fun way to do it this year, where you get quite a few blocks and then to make for 1 month. So they're repeated, which is really nice because you can do chain sewing, you can cut everything, so you can just sit down and sew them all up, and they're really quick and easy. You know, basically log cabin with a bunch of sew and flip units. So it's so nice. I'll just put a couple of them up here so you can see it. Where's the bird? Where's Birdman here? Gotta put that one up for you. There we go. Maybe you'll see it. If it didn't make any sense from this, does it look like a bird? Yeah, it could have looked even more like a bird if this was darker, I think. So fun. You just never know what's going to happen. Okay, so I've got a couple other things here today, and one of them is that I want to show you my 2.5-inch squares, what I have, how I'm using them, and a little bit about how to calculate one of these quilts that's all 2.5-inch squares. Because I've had a few people ask me that, well, how many squares do you need? And I thought, well, let me just show you how to figure that out, because it is so easy. It is not hard. So you'll see. But first we have the string bean block for the day, and I went with the teal background flamingo print, and here I wanted to get the ferns so that they're coming out like this from the block, and it's got one of the shrimp guys down there. Then I've got some pandas, and then I couldn't decide whether this guy has eyeballs. This is Tula Pink fabric called Daydreamer, and so all of this right now is Daydreamer. I haven't added anything in except for some black prints, but these all in this one are all the Daydreamer fabric. But it's got eyeballs in the thing there. So it cracks me up. Now I did sew the first 3 together, so I want to show that to you, because remember, these next 4 days I am trying to, maybe it's 3 days now, I'm trying to really get a lot of things sort of wrapped up so that I can, you know, don't have them hanging. And these I will sew as I go. And I will be doing sort of this more squarish looking version of this, because I want to do all 30 blocks. So I believe that's 6 across. So there we go. And I will add him on to the other end. And oh, I also definitely going to cut a few more of these parrots for the middle, because I said I only had 2, and I think I'm actually going to trade out a few of the ones that look like this that maybe aren't quite as interesting and put the parrots in there, so I get that variety, so that each row has at least one with the parrots, and then when you look at it, you'll see a little bit lighter center on those guys. Okay, let's see. Okay, so we're going to do the squares. Let me show you the green one again. I cannot find that aqua block. Remember I made the one block with the squares with the aqua? I cannot find that block. I looked and looked and looked all over here, and it's one block, and I knew I wasn't going to work on it right now, so I obviously put it somewhere really safe. And I'm hoping if I stop looking for it, it will just show up, because there are not that many places in here it can be, and I feel like I've looked in all of them. So anyway, you can make these quilts in any size you want. So the first thing you're going to do, after I'm going to show you this then in a few minutes, but you're going to figure out like how big of a quilt do you want, and then you can figure out how many squares you're going to need to do that. This has a green alternating with lights, but the lights might also they also have like a lot of pattern on them, and some might be more taupe, some might be more peachy. You know, I really was not going for white, which you can do, but I really like doing this variety. I think that it's a lot of fun to do it like this. It makes your quilt, I feel it makes the quilt sparkle. It has a different vibe than of all the alternating green, you know, all the whites were just a white. This one I also found, I had this green polka dot fabric that I used. So love that. Okay, I'm gonna need to take this on the other side of the table, because we're gonna go over there to discuss things. For making 2.5-inch square quilts, which are 2-inch finished, you need a lot of 2-inch squares, because they do, you know, it does get eaten up. And I thought I would just show you what I'm keeping, because it is not a lot. I don't have a lot of space in here. You've seen my space. My overflow is, my dining room is now my working overflow. I have to have 2 spaces for my things. It can't all fit in this one. It's just not enough room in here. So that means I do not keep a lot of pre-cut sizes. If I had a bit more space, I would probably keep a little bit more, because I think that if you use pre-cut sizes the same as what you can purchase a pre-cut, then you always have a lot of patterns available to you. So 2.5-inch squares, 5-inch squares, I'm sorry, layer cakes if you want to cut things into 10-inch squares. I personally don't see any point in doing that. I would rather just leave it in the bin, but 2.5-inch strips. So if I had more room, I would probably cut 5-inch squares as well and keep some of those, because that's a charm pack size. So like if you're going to cut 5-inch squares, you would have a charm pack size, and there's tons of quilts that tell you how to use a charm pack. A 2.5-inch square is this cut into 4s. 2.5-inch strips are the same as a jelly roll. So if you were keeping 2.5-inch squares, 5-inch squares, and 2.5-inch strips, then there's tons of quilts there available to you. Let's look at my bins. This is not a lot. I have 6 shoe boxes. I call it, so these are storage container units that are sort of termed the shoe box, because they are the size for shoes. And they've been called shoebox size boxes for as long as I can remember. And so that's the size that I have, which fits in my cupboard really nice. They don't take up a lot of room, and I use 6 of them. That's it. I don't have scraps in anything else. Oh, so I lie. I do have this one bag that I showed you the other day. And these are the ends. These are like the crumbs, what I would call crumbs. They're things that I can't cut into a 2.5-inch square because they're too narrow. So that's what's in there. Okay, let's take a look. I have these 4, which have squares. And then I have 2 that are strips. And I have not been doing a lot with the strips. These actually came about last year when I was cutting everything. I pretty much don't use the strips that much. That's sort of not my thing, but because I wanted to experiment last year with doing the crumbs and the strips, I kept things that could kind of be a strip for making strip quilts, which will be a someday project. So let's look at those first, because I'll put them to the side. The top one is more full. It is actually, I can press it down and get some more, but it is really full of just strips. They're just all, you know, a lot of different sizes. Some of them are probably 2.5 inches because I just thought, well, I'll just put them in there as my experiment. And then this one is lights, and the lights I have a lot less of. So there you go. These two now I'm not using right now, so I just keep putting things in them, but I try not to. I'm trying just to do the cutting instead. All right, I'm going to show you all 4 bins. Maybe my block is in here. I think I looked already. So this one has blue, because I did that Liberty one, so that used up a lot of blue. It's got light blues and it's got the teal. Because remember, I did that aqua teal block because I have 4 stacks of that color. So I can work those down to make a quilt. So there's room in here. I've got lights, 4 stacks of lights, a stack of more gray, orange, yellow. There's some more gray. Why they're not together, I don't know. So the lights are good. So now if I'm doing that aqua quilt, I'm going to use all these lights and all those aquas. Maybe cut a few more things. So you can see each bin is not one full color. It takes a while to build this. It doesn't just happen overnight. So here is black, pink, purple. So I was going through here for the pinks. I got a few aquas, yellows, a little bit of green out when I was doing the border for the going around the scrap one with the purple. There's some greens, and then reds I've used a lot lately, and so there's not a whole lot of reds. So I want to use these, look in these greens for doing the shamrock panel. Okay, so this is what I have. Now, I recently got these out because these two came from the Ukraine star block, and then these were all what I pulled out when I was doing the border for the purple crumb quilt. And this is what I didn't use, so they need to go back here, go back into the bins. All right. How do you figure out how much fabric you need? Let me show the ways. I will tell you. So let's say you want to make a quilt that's 60 by 80 of all squares, all finished 2-inch squares. You're going to cut them all 2.5. So you have to take 60 and you have to divide it by 2, which equals 30. And then you have to take 80 divided by 2, which equals 40. Can't write numbers upside down. So what does that mean? That means across here in this row, you're going to have 30 squares. And that means this way, you're going to have 40 rows, because each row will have 30 squares in it. And, you know, to make up that whole length, you're going to need to make 40 rows, because 2 inches, you know, it takes a little while to build that up. So how many squares do you need? You're going to take 40 times 30, and that will be 40 times 30, which will be 1,200 squares total. So that's 1,200 squares. And then you divide that by 2 to get your colorations. So if you divide that by 2, you get, drum roll, 600 green and 600 light. And this is how you figure out what you need. You are going to need to cut up a bunch of stuff. So for me, if I wanted to make my aqua one, I will need to check into my bin of aqua squares and see if I have 600. I need 600 aqua squares and then 600 light squares. So if I do not have that many, then I have to cut some more. Now when I make these, I don't generally do these numbers in advance because I knew I have 4 stacks of aqua in there. I have no idea how many squares are in those 4 stacks. I could count one of the stacks and then times it by 4. So let's say one of the stacks is, 10. It's not 10, but then if you do 4, that'd be 40 squares. But one of those stacks is a lot more than 10. But that would give me an idea of what I already own, what's already there. So there you go. Super simple. If you want to do a quilt of squares, They're so fun. They're so fun. But please find my aqua one because I don't know where it is. It's really annoying because my brain won't stop thinking about where it is. I need to go look a few more places in here. It's like, this is not a big space. Where are they? All right. I would like to also thank everybody who has donated and made a Ukraine star to support the Ukraine children through the UNICEF organization, which is a top-notch charity organization that has been around for a very, very long time. And we are doing a fundraiser that the money that we are sending goes to Ukraine. And it has just been marvelous. As of taping this, we're like $83,000 from 13 different countries around the world. So thank you so much for doing all of this. All right, my friend, you are going to make your heartfelt blocks today, and you have the whole month to make those heartfelt blocks for the Make-A-Wish Foundation, which is another organization that supports children. And I'm working with the Fat Quarter Shop on that one. And then if you haven't made your star yet, get making that because I've been collecting a few pictures so that you can see some variations, and I would like to show those. I'll probably show them tomorrow on Saturday's video. But if you haven't done yours yet, you've got some really unique fabric, get it out there. One I found that somebody shared has a sunflower fabric right in the middle, which is so cool. I don't have any sunflower fabric right now. Wish I did. All right, my friend, I love you. Mwah. See you in the Sloan Zone online.